Greetings, I'm Linda Pence-Gunter with Beyond Nuclear, and this is the update. We have reached 35 years since the April 26, 1986 Chernobyl disaster unleashed at least 50 million curies of radioactivity into the atmosphere. The fallout spread across Belarus, Russia, and Ukraine, and into Europe, and even touched the shores of the United States. Today, when we think about Chernobyl, it matters how we think about it, because that colors our views about how serious the consequences of a nuclear accident are. And if we refuse to look at what has happened to people and is still happening to people 35 years after the Chernobyl disaster, then we are more likely to accept the whitewash that yes, even Chernobyl, the world's worst nuclear accident, wasn't actually that bad. But it was. People lost their lives, yes, but a nuclear power accident is not like a fire or a bomb going off. It's not just about who died then. It's also about who died later and who suffered and continues to suffer even 35 years later. Tragedies struck several million of what we call ordinary people. But there was nothing ordinary about the Chernobyl ordeal or the people who experienced it. 500 of them told their stories to Belarusian journalist Svetlana Alexievich, who collected them in her book of testimonials, Voices from Chernobyl. They are searing and heartbreaking, and most importantly, they are real. The problem that caused Chernobyl Unit 4 to explode was a technological one, compounded by human error. The liquidators were on the front lines and took the worst immediate hit. But many of those so-called ordinary people who suffered the consequences of Chernobyl were never liquidators. They were just living, going about their daily lives, never imagining their villages might soon be buried in the ground forever, effectively nuclear waste, never imagining their children might not survive, their communities would break apart, never imagining they would become pariahs. 35 years on, what has Chernobyl come to mean? Is it a vague memory or a learned piece of history, dismissed as a nuclear error with few serious consequences, or a ghastly gift that keeps on giving? In her introduction to Voices from Chernobyl, Alexievich reminds us that of the 50 million curies of radioactivity spewed into the atmosphere by the Chernobyl explosion, 70% of it fell on Belarus, contaminating 23% of the land in a largely agrarian and rural country. We can't dismiss this tragedy and accept the narrative lie that only a handful of liquidators died. And why are they an only anyway? They were lives that mattered too, lives some of which were sacrificed to a horrific, agonizing end. They were loved by people, they mattered. They should never be considered only. Yes, any kind of technology comes with a price, in human terms, in environmental terms. But nuclear technology is not one we need to choose. It is not one we need to use. There is a radioactive mess that needs to be cleaned up in Belarus, Ukraine, Russia, now Japan, not a bigger one that needs to be made. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.